All right, how's it going? Good to have you guys here. I'm glad you clicked. And if this is via audiobook that you're listening to this by, I'm glad to have you also, and I'm glad you made it. So, man, I was having a great morning, Sunday morning, checking out some of my favorite churches, and I thought about it. I heard this great sermon on prayer, and I said, man, you know what? I've had this channel up for a while. I had a decent audience for quite a while, and I talked about so many crazy things that it hit me. I never spoke on prayer. And you guys know I've mentioned prayer, and I'll mention some tidbits on the precautions and the things that concern prayer, but I never really taught on it specifically. So shame on me for that. Shame on me. But we're gonna handle that now, and who knows, I may even just go ahead and start a book on it. Some of these topics, I don't just jump and do a whole series on them, because these are things that I want to make sure that I'm a little seasoned in myself before I actually put any form of a course or teaching on these things. And of course that could easily turn into procrastination, right? They say if you leave the release date for the engineers, the concept will never leave the assembly line, because it's never perfect to the engineers. See, and sometimes as an author, as a philosopher, as a speaker, it could be very similar, especially if you're any kind of a perfectionist. But with that all being said, let's get into prayer. Let's get into this. So, first of all, power comes with prayer. Power comes with prayer. I don't know if you guys realize this, depending on whatever your belief system is. I know, I don't know you guys personally, but one thing that I could tell for sure is that most of you guys are monotheistic. There may be some atheists in this audience of mine. Some of you guys may be atheists. Some of you guys may just be neutral, but you call yourselves atheists just to, shoo away the extra spiritual, and I understand that also. But when I talk about prayer, I'm talking about conversation, communication, specifically with the Most High God. So I just want to clarify that. Whatever your belief system is, if you're Christian, if you're, in some cases that could mean Luciferian, but that's a whole other topic for another day. If you're Buddhist, if you're of any belief system, whatever belief system you're of, you're welcome to this topic. I welcome you, and I'm glad to have you here. And the reason why I say that, even though we're talking about prayer to the Most High God, is because the whole objective of prayer to the Most High God is for you to allow Him to show Himself to you. See? And I will admit, scripturally speaking, this does require a degree of belief starting out, so you do have to choose to believe. But it's not like you have to dedicate your life or you have to jump out the window and just completely give yourself to him. Just put yourself in his hands, right? No, belief isn't that starting out. Belief starting out is just that inkling in you that says that I want to believe that this is true. That's all it is. It's just that inkling. And what you do is you kind of embrace that inkling, that little sense within you that says that I want to believe that he's true, that he's real, that he wants good things for me. You don't even have to take it that far. It's just that inkling that says, yeah, I think there can be a prime source that everything comes from, the Most High God. See, that's belief starting out. And that's what we're talking about. Not only there, but that's what we're starting out with today. That's what we're starting out with. But prayer it brings power, spiritual power. Prayer, it literally takes your body, and I don't mean to go with the Matrix reference, but they were on to something. But prayer literally takes your body and it takes whatever energy is in it, and it enhances, it accelerates the energy that's in you, and it runs through your organs as alkaline voltage runs through wire or coil wiring within a battery, and it creates energy that could be emitted and actually transferred to another being. See, car battery, that energy is emitted to the rest of the car, to the rest of the chassis. A AA battery, that energy could be emitted to the remote, to a TV remote, or whatever remote, what have you. Excuse me. So the same thing happens with your body in prayer. You're just accelerating the energy that's in you. That's all. And that's why prayer is tied to power. Prayer brings power on the scene. See, this isn't just prayer to the Most High God. This is prayer to Buddha, to Krishna, to the devil, to demons, to whatever. Anyone that uses prayer, they can develop power. We have a lot of people that like to pray to themselves, and they like to say that it's to God. They like to hope that their prayers are going to God, but no, they're just praying to themselves, worshiping themselves, praising themselves. Anyone that could go into what they would call a prayer closet and say, give me, give me, give me, that's prayer to oneself. You're just praying, you're praising yourself, you're worshiping yourself. See, if you could go to the Most High God, even in what you call prayer, and say, Lord, I want this, I want you to fix this, I want you to fix that, I want you to help this, I want you to give me that. That's not prayer to God. That's prayer to yourself, and that's actually you requesting that God will pray you in that prayer, will worship you and pray to you in that prayer closet. See, you're requesting that God worships you, and that's not worship. That's not prayer. So we're gonna speak on that also. But the point for now is prayer brings power. Power comes from prayer. That's why when you go to foreign countries like India, you'll see a shaman or someone, a monk or what have you. They would, or a witch doctor. They'll be under this meditation, and they'll meditate so much and for so long that they can actually stick swords in their flesh, and it doesn't it doesn't cause any scarring or any blood to leak out. They can stick swords down their throat, down their esophagus. See, they could stand on hot coals. They could do a lot of amazing stuff. A lot of things that require spiritual power, and that's old news. You know, we've seen stuff like that in older movies all the time, but those things occur through prayer. See, it's not prayer to the Most High God, I'll tell you that much, but it is prayer. See, and this is why prayer is important. You have to understand, every belief system has some form of prayer that they can engage in. And when you believe in the Most High God, when you have evidence, when you have revelation of the Most High God and who He is, it's kind of imperative for you to understand how to pray to Him. See, and to make sure that you're doing it right, to make sure that you're not portraying yourself to be praying to Him, but in reality just trying to glorify yourself, trying to come out of this thing with just benefit. See, don't get me wrong, God does want to bless us as His creation, but He usually blesses those that ask for nothing when they go to Him. They just go to Him knowing that He's willing to bless them, but they go to Him caring about Him, caring about the things of Him. See, it's like a father that has multiple kids. The kid that runs to daddy and just says, "Hey daddy, I'm glad to see you," and they just hug him, just hop on his lap and just hug him and just start singing to him. That child has a better chance of the father going into his pockets to pull out some money or whatever, to give them a gift, to give them what they want as a kid. That kid has a better chance than the other kids that just walks up to them, that they're on their phone, don't even look up from their phone and say, "Hey dad, I need something. I need some money." That father's gonna say, first of all, look at me when you're talking to me. I don't care if you're live. Look at me when you're talking to me. Second of all, you don't need nothing but water, food, and air, and I provided all those things for you. So since we got that out the way, tell me what you want, because it's really something that you want. What do you want? And I'll see. It's a complete different conversation. I'll see if I have it in my time. See, I'll see if I have it in my time to give it to you or not. But you just gave Sally. You just gave Sally some money. You made time for Sally. Watch this. The father could respond to that by saying, "Yeah, but Sally took her time. She took out of her time, of her schedule, to see me. She made time for daddy because she cares about daddy." See, You, on the other hand, I had to tell you to look up from your phone. See? And we have to ask ourselves, what kind of attitude do we have when we go before God? What kind of attitude do we have? Does God have to tell us to look up from our phone when we're trying to spend time with Him? Does God have to remind us to stop thinking about our spouse, to stop thinking about that girl that we just met, to stop thinking about the next meal we're gonna have, to stop thinking about that show that just came out on Netflix? See? To stop thinking about those things. Does God have to remind us to look up from our social phone? Does He have to remind us to take our minds off of the things that aren't in front of us? That being the Most High God. You have the Most High God sitting on His throne in front of you, and you can't look up from your phone. Give me a break. Give me a break. Come on. That's not prayer. Let me just kick the door down with this one. Ecclesiastes 5. Verse 1. There's going to be a lot of law references, the law of Moses. There'll be a lot of references on that portion of scripture here, using Moses as an example. Verse 1, keep thy foot when thou goest to the house of God. What does this mean? Keep thy foot. When Moses was standing before that fiery bush, that burning bush that wouldn't get consumed by the fire, Moses, first of all, he noticed that the bush wasn't being consumed of the fire, because usually when fire hits any form of vegetation, it just licks it up. That vegetation eventually burns up. But Moses noticed. He paid attention. That's the first thing you want to pay attention to when it comes to prayer. You don't want to ignore the godly thing that's happening. You don't want to ignore God or the things of God. You want to pay attention. See? So the first thing that Moses did is he noticed and he paid attention. And then he got a close-up. He went closer to the burning bush to observe it. To see if he could figure out why this bush won't burn up. See? And before he got too close, God spoke to him and said, keep thy foot. Watch your step. Or in other words, be careful. Use precaution as you get closer. See? Take the shoes off of your feet, because the ground that you standeth upon is holy ground. And ancient Hebrew customs, we call them ancient Jewish customs, but ancient Hebrew, ancient Jewish customs, whenever someone, the way that their houses were built, they were built out of a unique clay. And these houses, it was very state-of-the-art at that time. It was an improvement on the African huts, because huts were made out of mud clay also, and it was real good at insulating heat, and which was beneficial in cold times. But it was a good shelter. It was kind of like a portable cave, right? Well, in Jewish times, in Jewish tribes, they had something similar, but they were a little more square instead of being more round shaped. And this is how all the houses were built, all the buildings were built. But the downside of this is it was very easy to collect dust in that building, see, and dust wasn't something that was too desirable back then. They didn't have cabinets and shelves the way that we do now, so a lot of their essentials were on the floor, and the last thing that you wanted is dust getting where the food is, see, dust getting where the blankets are, dust getting where the clothes are, see. Clean, back then, a clean house meant a clean spouse. It meant that you could be clean, but it's all based on your house. See, if you had a dirty house, you had a dirty spouse. You sometimes being the spouse. So what people would do is they would take their shoes off before they came into the house. That way they didn't collect any extra dust. Or they'll take the shoes off and then come into the house and set the shoes at the door, see, or close to the door, see. And that was a different ground. That was home grounds. I'm paraphrasing for the actual term, but you took your shoes off because you were stepping on residential grounds. Well, God said when Moses was getting close to that burning bush, he said, take your shoes off, because what you're about to walk on, what you're about to enter into is not residential grounds, it's holy grounds. I'm here. The Most High God is here. So take your shoes off, Moses. Ecclesiastes 5:1, that's the first thing that it references. Keep thy foot when thou goest to the house of God. You want to have the same attitude of Moses when he was stepping into the presence of God. When you enter into prayer, you want to keep your foot. See, you don't rush in. You for darn sure don't rush in with what we call tongues. That's a whole other teaching for a whole other day. But you don't rush in. You're very careful. You want to make sure that you don't offend. You want to make sure that your thoughts are focused on God. For you that like to claim that you have ADD, stop claiming that on yourself. It doesn't exist. ADD does not exist. Okay, it's a lie. It's always been one. Now what can happen is you can accept a lie like ADHD. You can accept a lie like that, and what can happen is a demon can actually step in and start using that against you, and now you're under a demonic oppression that causes you to respond as if you can't pay attention to anything. That can happen, but in most cases that's not even the case. A lot of you guys just lack discipline. See, and instead of focusing on improving yourselves, instead of focusing on developing the skill of focus, you excuse the lack of discipline by saying, oh yeah, I'm sorry, I got ADHD. No, it doesn't exist. See. Really, ADHD should stand for ain't no discipline around here, disorder. Ain't no discipline here, disorder. That's what it should be, ADHD. There you go. You just got to get some discipline, that's all. So when you go before God, kick that out. Kick that thought out that you have ADHD. Not right now. Not right now. You're approaching the Most High God. He can fix that for you. So you keep thy foot, verse 1, keep thy foot when thou goest to the house of God, and be more ready to hear. That's part of keeping your foot. It's not just physically walking in. No, this is a mentality. You're careful and you're making sure that you're more ready to hear. More ready to hear than what? Than to give the sacrifice of fools. What does this mean? If being more ready to hear has to be done more than to give the sacrifice of fools, then the sacrifice of fools must be to do all the talking. See, praying to God in a way where you're doing all the talking, that's the sacrifice of fools. That's the prayer of fools. People that are boldly ignorant. They ignore the signs. They ignore knowledge. They ignore the opportunity to learn. Right? And they're bold about it. They have no intention of improving or changing. Watch this. And be more ready to hear than to give the sacrifice of fools, for they consider not that they do evil. They're not paying attention, and they're not paying attention to the fact that their form of prayer is actually evil. What did I say starting out? I said some people think that they're worshiping God when they pray, but they go into what they call their prayer closet and they start giving God demands and commands and requests, talking about themselves. That's evil. Why? Because you're asking for God to worship you. You're commanding God to worship you, and you're trying to use His word against Him. That's evil. I get it. Many of us, we do this out of ignorance. We do this unknowingly, without recognizing what we're doing. That's all right. That your brother's here for you. This is what I'm here for. But for the men that's listening, this is what I talk about when I talk about manhood. When you make mistakes, don't apologize. Pay attention to what you did wrong, and vow to yourself to not do it again. See, if it's a mistake that someone else has caught you in, you vow to them to not do it again. But before you can even make that kind of vow, because you can make an empty promise. So before you make an empty promise, you want to make sure that you analyze what you did wrong, how the mistake occurred in the first place. And then say, okay, yeah, I identified what I did wrong, not gonna do it again. You got my word on that. See? Verse 2, be not rash with thy mouth, and let not thine heart be hasty to utter anything before God. For God is in heaven, and thou upon earth. Therefore let thy words be few. This is Solomon speaking here. Solomon wrote these things with the wisdom of God that God bestowed upon him. So he's telling you first and foremost, firsthand, how to pray. Honestly, I'm a firm believer that, and I'm a stickler of this thought, that Solomon actually visited heaven multiple times while he was on the earth. And I honestly believe that that's how he became, by God's choice of words, the wisest man that ever lived until Jesus. Because how do you become wiser than a man that was taken up into heaven to sit before the throne of God and write 365 books? I'm talking about Enoch. How do you become wiser than him? Well, you will have to sit before the throne of God and write 370 books. See? But all jokes aside, yeah, I believe that Solomon did visit heaven, have multiple heaven visitations, because the way that he operated on the earth, it was very akin to how people dwell in heaven according to scripture. And the way that he just ran his kingdom, it was heavenly. He brought heaven on the earth. He did a very good job at it, I may like to add. But you could take it from him how to approach God. I'm pretty sure that he got this blueprint of how to pray based on how they approached God before his throne in heaven. That's where I'm getting at with this. See? So you could take it from him. First of all, scripture. Second of all, it's the wisest man that ever lived. See? So be not rash with thy mouth, and let not thine heart be hasty to utter anything before God. This is how you want to pray. Now, what does it mean to let not your heart be hasty to utter anything before God? In other words, don't tell God the things that you care about so much. Don't be so quick to do that. Don't be so quick to just tell God the things that you have a motive towards. Don't be so quick to remind God of your will. See, you don't do all the talking. You let your words be few. And you don't go in there asking God or just telling God, just talking his ear off. Talking to him about the things that you want. Just soak up his presence. Just be before his throne. Just let the thought marinate in your mind until it reaches your spirit, your heart. Let the thought of you being before the throne of God, the thought that God is allowing you to approach him, the creator of all universes, multiverses, what have you, superverses, whatever, the creator of all these things, he is allowing you to approach his throne from your room, which you call your prayer closet. Just let that thought marinate and sink in before you start uttering the things that you want. See? Before you start talking a bunch of nonsense, before you start telling God about your problems. I promise you, if you could just achieve that, to just focus on who he is long enough for it to register, you're going to automatically have the peace that you want. Because that kind of peace, it comes with his presence. But this is how you do it. You have to shut your mouth. You have to. Be not rash with thy mouth, and let not thine heart be hasty to utter anything before God. For God is in heaven, and thou upon earth. Therefore, let your words be few. This is just 2 verses on this passage. I recommend that you guys go through the whole chapter on your own time, but this is just 2 verses on this. We may come back to it. We may come back to it. But this is what prayer is all about. This is what prayer is all about. And it's not about getting something. It's not about receiving something. I get it. A lot of you guys out there, you do need miracles. Now I'm gonna adjust that statement. All right, because there's a two-dimensional aspect to that. Then there's a three-dimensional aspect. So from a two-dimensional aspect, yeah, a lot of you guys do need miracles. But from a three-dimensional aspect, a lot of you guys already have what you need. You're just not doing anything with it. A lot of your problems are corporeal issues. They're not incorporeal. They're flesh-based, world-based issues. They're not spiritual issues that needs a spiritual occurrence. See, a lot of you guys have natural issues that requires natural solutions, not spiritual solutions. So when you factor that in from a three-dimensional sense, very few of you guys actually need a miracle. So factor that in when you talk about approaching God also. See, a lot of you guys don't really need to be asking God for something. A lot of you already have what you need. You just need to learn how to go before God and to thank Him for what you already have. If you have 4 limbs and it's in your desire, it's in your want to be rich, to be financially stable, to have financial freedom as they call it today, but you have four limbs. You're not blind, you're not deaf, you're not dumb, or what they would call Down syndrome these days. You don't have any of those issues, but you wanna be financially free, so to speak. You don't need a miracle, and you don't need to be asking God for anything concerning that. You need to be thanking God for those 4 limbs, because apparently you're not thankful enough to go outside and get the work done. That's why you're not financially free. See, it's that simple. If once more, if you're not blind, deaf, or dumb, and you want to have a happy marriage, you want to have a beautiful spouse, talking to the men here, I'm gonna switch it over, ladies. I'm gonna switch it over to you in a second. You should actually be happy that I'm not on you yet, because I'm not gonna be too tough, but I am gonna be pragmatic. I am gonna be truthful, so it may sting a little. So be happy that I'm still on the men for right now, but I am coming over to you, because there's solutions in the truth. It's like medicine. It doesn't taste good, but it's good for you. But men, if you want a beautiful spouse, you want a beautiful young lady that you could call your wife, your woman, someone that's not going to cheat on you, someone that's not going to betray you, someone that will love you and love the Lord, someone that you wouldn't mind creating a legacy with, and having her to be the nurturer and carer for your children, the caregiver for your children. But you're not deaf, you're not blind, you're not dumb, and you don't have that. This isn't something that you need to be asking God for a miracle concerning. You need to go before God and thank Him for giving you everything that you need in order to get that queen, that wife that you've been praying so hard for. That's not a miracle issue. That's a very natural issue. You don't pray to God to do something for you that He gave you everything that you need in order to get. See? And ladies, I'm gonna start by saying this. That this isn't gonna be nearly as much time as I should spend on this topic. We'll get there in other studies. All right. If there's a great urgency for me to speak on these things, hit up those comments. Hit up those comments. That's how you get in touch with me. You get in touch with me with comments. If I don't see comments, hey, I'm gonna assume that, hey, everyone got what they needed from that teaching. But I already know this isn't gonna be nearly as much that's gonna be needed to really deal with this with a lot of you ladies, because this problem is $1 trillion problem. Trillions of dollars have been invested into getting people, men and women, to think the way that they do today. But after saying that, I'll say this. Ladies, if you want a good, God-fearing man that has the kind of income that can provide the lifestyle that you want, that has the kind of demeanor and composure, or the kind of temper that you want, someone that's willing to put up with you and to kind of to kind of be reasonable, right? To be a gentleman, to be the perfect gentleman. And he fears God. If you want all those things, then you're going to have to become what guys like that wants. And praying to God is not going to make that happen. You don't go to God praying for a miracle concerning those things. If you're not blind, ladies, if you're not deaf, ladies, if you're not dumb, if you have 4 limbs, you can do that yourself. You don't need to pray to God to perform a miracle to get you that kind of man. You need to go before God with a change of attitude. You need to go before God with a mentality change. Instead of going before His throne saying, Lord, give me, give me, give me. You need to go before His throne saying, Lord, thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm thankful for my 4 limbs. I'm thankful that I'm not blind. I'm thankful that I'm not deaf. I'm thankful that I'm not dumb. I thank you for giving me everything that I need to be able to be discovered, because that's what you're trying to do. To be discovered by that God-fearing man. It's that simple. It really is that simple. Most of the work, and fellas, I want you to hear this. Most of the work when it comes to helping our women and getting them in the right position and in place that they should be in. It's not in them learning deep concepts. It's not in them learning deep philosophical concepts or even psychological. It doesn't have to get that psychological. Most of the work with getting our women to be where they're supposed to be is in the simplifying of things. It's taking something that has already been complicated. It's taking something that has already been shot up with a steroid called psychology and simplifying it, purifying the blood, getting that out of the system, and simplifying this to just what God said. Man, you find a woman, you be fruitful, you multiply, you replenish the earth, you subdue the earth that you have replenished. That's it. Simple. But when I ask you guys, men and women, does it seem that simple? The answer is absolutely not. Absolutely not. Why? Because this very simple thing has been complicated to the point where when I bring up the simple, people want to look at guys like myself like we fell out of a tree. But I'm here to tell you, I didn't fall out of a tree. It is the world that is sitting under a tree, moping and shouting at God. That's what's going on here. But I'm here to tell you, the Savior, he's not just here, he has already came. Jesus Christ has already came into this world, people. And he's done the greatest thing that the Jews could even conceptualize. They don't even want to accept it today. When you speak to Jews, they don't want to accept what Jesus did, because it's so hard to conceptualize with the mind. You have to start out believing, and then God eventually reveals these things to you. But what Jesus did when he came to this earth was he took the law of Moses, the Levitical law specifically, and he taught them from such a perspective, from such a godly perspective. It was almost as if God brought all of the people that he taught to his throne and explained the law to them, opposed to just rabbis and teachers and law doctors teaching these things. When Jesus taught the law, it was almost as if God got off of his throne and dwelt amongst the people and explained what the law really meant and what it was truly saying. And then empowered everyone that he was teaching to follow the law better than the lawyers of that time. We have the ability to do those things still to this day. And the benefits that comes from that, I'm telling you, I've seen it with my own eyes. I've seen people pass up their superiors in the workplace in their respective workplace. I've seen it happen with my own eyes. I've seen superiors fall on their knees before there used to be inferiors. That conversation at the store is different. And here's the coldest thing, guys. Here's the coldest thing. Not one thing that I'm talking about is spiritual. These are natural things that God has already given you, the tools that you need to be able to walk these things out. All you need is 4 limbs and your mind to do these things. And you don't need too much of that. You just have to know what you're doing. See? You just have to know what you're doing. But the laws, the law of Moses, those Levitical laws that Jesus was teaching and fulfilling when he was on the earth, those are dealing with natural things. When you know those laws, and then you look at how Jesus said to follow those laws, and then you use that in the workplace, you pass people up. You pass them up on accident. See? Now, whether you profess to be Christian or not, that's on you. But when people start asking you, hey, what is it about you? You could tell them, hey, I serve the Most High God, and I use what He's given us as people to follow. And I live by it. I stand by it. That's why I carry myself the way that I do around here. That's why I'm passing y'all up. Now, I would say it like that. You don't have to say it like that, right? But that's why I gotta carry y'all every time I get here. And I have more fun carrying y'all. I look forward to carrying y'all more than you look forward to being here every day. I'm telling you guys. I'm telling you. You guys are praying for the wrong reasons. You're praying for the wrong thing or things. When you get before the throne of God, you don't say, God, give me the secrets that you've been keeping for all of my success. No, you get before His throne. You say, Lord, thank you for giving me the secrets to eternity. You've already given me these things. Thank you. And forgive me for overlooking them, for ignoring them. They were in your precious word all this time, and I've been ignoring them. Forgive me for that, Lord. Thank you for not punishing me for ignoring these things. Because if you would have punished me for ignoring all these great things that you've already given me, it would have been rightfully so. I deserve every single lashing and whipping from you, Lord. If that was the case, but you didn't even punish me not one time for ignoring everything you've already given me. You've never punished me for being ungrateful and asking you for a miracle. Having the unmitigated gall to ask for a miracle from you when you've given me everything that I need and then some on top of the sum. thank you. Prayer does not start with give me. Prayer starts with thank you. Prayer does not start with give me. Prayer starts with giving thanks. You give thanks. Not give me. No, I'm here to give thanks. That's real prayer. I beseech thee all, on your free time, make free time. Ecclesiastes 5, read it all. Read it all. If you haven't, read the whole book. Read the Bible front to back. You guys should be doing that. This isn't just for the teachers to be doing. You know, I can't enjoy all of this heaven by myself. You know, I don't want to enjoy all this heaven by myself. I need good brothers and sisters to enjoy this heaven with. See? But you have to understand, you don't get to watch what you want, read what you want, see what you want, do what you want. All this stuff you see on Netflix, you don't get to do that stuff and get what you want. You don't get to do what you want and get what you want. There's not one person in all of eternity that was able to do that. If you do what you want, you're gonna get what you need. And that's punishment. Anyone that does what they want, they need to be punished for it. No one should be seeking to do what they want. In this life, you have to do what you need in order to get what you want. See how that works? If you spend enough time doing what you need, you'll get more time back receiving what you want. If you spend most of your time doing what you want, you're gonna lose time receiving what you need, and that's punishment for just doing what you wanted to do. See? People are in prison today as we speak because they did too much of what they wanted to do. And now they're losing their precious life, losing time by receiving what they need. And that's punishment for being so selfish to do what they want. Every single one of them, 4 limbs, not deaf, not dumb, not blind. But they chose to squander it by doing what they want. Not doing what they need. Not doing what they need as a man. Not doing what they need as a husband. Not doing what they need as a father. Can you believe that there are men or males that are in prison and that were sent to prison while they had kids? Can you imagine? someone that is required to be a man being sent to prison while they have kids. You do what you want, you get what you need. Punishment. When you go before God, you don't go to Him concerning what you want. You go to Him concerning what you need. And that's not asking Him to do something for you concerning what you need. You go to Him because He's the need. You need Him. You need God. You need Him to breathe. You need Him to eat. You need Him to sleep. And when you go before His throne, you don't say, so you gave me what I need, but I need more. No. You go to Him and say, Lord, I need air to breathe, and you've given it to me. You're giving it to me as we speak. So I thank you. I'm telling you, how many of you have thanked God from the biggest things all the way down to the minute detail? How many have you? How many of you have gotten surgical to a quantum level with your prayers? How many of you have thanked God for the house that you own, all the way down to the microscopic fibers in your skin? Some may say, well, that's a little extreme. I will say wasting God's time with asking Him for a miracle is a little extreme. A miracle for something that you could have done on your own. Don't waste God's time with that. A miracle is your wife's in the hospital. Your wife's in the hospital and she's terminally ill. And the doctors are saying that she has 2 months to live. That's a miracle issue. A miracle issue is your child has been born, but they're a premature. They're premature, and they need they're malnutrition. And they need an extra machine just for their little heart to keep beating. That's a miracle issue. That's something that God would not be wasting His time for. If you pray to Him for that, that's something that He'll make time for. That's not a waste of time to God. That's a miracle issue. When you have 4 limbs, you're not blind, deaf, dumb, you don't have any of those issues, and you're asking God for a job, give me a break. When you pray to God, you thank Him for what He's already done for you, which is giving you everything you need to go outside and get the job. You thank Him for giving you the ability to hunt. And guess what you do when you're done praying? Hunt. You hunt as if God told you to. Are you guys catching this? So I'm definitely going to be doing more on this. I haven't even scratched the surface of what I wanted to cover today, but I believe I would like to hope that this bless you guys. Hit me up, stay on me concerning whatever topics that you guys want to hear. I will get back to you. I do my best, and I try to do my best in catching your interactions, as long as they're not too silly. But talk to you guys later. Thank you for your interactions. Thank you for your likes, comments, shares via whatever platform you're watching this from. Thank you, and love you guys. Stay wise.